on the weekend we published my latest piece titled "Will Corbyn Allow Zionists to Sabotage Him Again?" And it's about the former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn's efforts to start a new political party and the divisions within that movement over Zionism and anti-Zionism. The left-winger and Palestine solidarity campaigner Jeremy Corbyn became leader of the then opposition Labour Party in 2015. And as readers of my book, Weaponising Anti-Semitism, will know, Corbyn was relentlessly sabotaged by the State of Israel and its lobby for the following 5 years, despite coming close to power in the 2017 general election. He lost the 2019 general election and stepped down as leader of the party the following year. And then, in October 2020, he was removed as even a backbench Labour MP by pro-Israel party leader Keir Starmer, who is now the Prime Minister, for the sin of correctly stating that the issue of anti-Semitism had been exaggerated by his political enemies. But Corbyn didn't do himself any favours during the Israel lobby sabotage campaign. He softened his previous stances and tried to pander to the Labour Party's internal pro-Israel lobby, especially the Jewish Labour Movement, which is an explicitly Zionist group which acts as a proxy for the Israeli embassy in London. And you can see from this article that I wrote in October 2023, they actually claim credit for bringing down Corbyn. That's kind of been forgotten now because it was shortly before 7th of October they did this. You could read my book for all the details, but for example, in 2017, Corbyn's spokesman James Schneider told me and other media that Corbyn did not support the BDS movement, but only, quote, targeted action against Israeli settlements. Moreover, the party under Corbyn's leadership constantly suspended and expelled activists for legitimate anti-Zionist statements, which Israel and its lobby had falsely smeared as anti-Semitism. This never did Corbyn any good and only fueled the crisis, while expelling some of his closest and most high-profile allies, including Jackie Walker and the left-wing MP Chris Williamson. Now, of course, the biggest of these political guns was Ken Livingstone, the former mayor of London and an anti-racist pioneer. You may remember that in a 2016 BBC radio interview attempting to defend Corbyn, the former mayor accurately stated the historical fact that the Nazis had supported the Zionist Federation as one way to rid Germany of Jewish people in the 1930s. Livingstone was promptly suspended as a Labour member and spent 2 years in limbo, being constantly investigated and reinvestigated by the Labour Party machine, before ultimately being persuaded in 2018 by Corbyn's allies to drop his legal battle and quit the party. Now, if you speak to Corbyn's closest allies today, they'll still tell you that they tried to secretly defend Livingstone behind the scene. But here's a clip of what Corbyn himself at the time actually said. If we can play that.
Jeremy Corbyn, you've had to suspend a close friend, a very close ally. How did that feel?
My job is to lead the party. My job is to ensure the party, all members of the party behave in an appropriate way. There were concerns about the language used by Ken Livingstone, as there were of one or two other people, and so a number of people, a very small number of people, I have to say, in the entire party membership have been suspended pending investigation. We're not tolerating anti-Semitism in any way, or indeed any other kind of racism within the party. It's not acceptable and not allowed.
Ken Livingstone was and is a very close friend. How did you feel doing what you've done?
Obviously very sad, but I have a responsibility to lead the party.
So that clip notably was from the 28th of April 2016, the very same day Livingstone was suspended. So there we have it. You know, there were concerns about the language used by Ken Livingstone. We're not tolerating anti-Semitism in any way. It's obviously very sad, but our responsibility to lead the party. So, you know, for all of the kind of revisionism now where they're saying that they secretly were trying to defend him, Ken Livingstone publicly, they were condemning him. Corbyn threw his closest allies under the bus and ruinously tried to coddle his biggest enemies in the pro-Israel lobby. And these two factors played a major role in Corbyn's ultimate departure from the party. So now there's talk of a new left-wing party. It's no wonder that many of Corbyn's supporters want a more assertive approach this time round. In July, Zarah Sultana, a younger left-wing pro-Palestinian backbench Labour MP, dramatically announced that she was quitting Labour to co-found a new socialist party alongside Jeremy Corbyn. She said this is part of her statement, quote, "Across the political spectrum, they smear people of conscience trying to stop a genocide in Gaza as terrorists. But the truth is clear. This government is an active participant in genocide, and the British people oppose it. In 2029, that's when the general election is expected to be next time. In 2029, the choice will be stark, socialism or barbarism." So right away, Sultana has come out fighting on the issue of the anti-Semitism smears that were used against Corbyn. Here's what she said last month when the journalist Matt Kennard asked her about anti-Semitism smears and about Zionism.
One of the things we have to be honest about was some of the mistakes that were made under the Corbyn period, and adopting the IHRA was a mistake. Conflating anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism was a mistake, so much so that one of the lead authors, Kenneth Stern, has criticised it and has criticised organisations and anyone who decides to adopt this policy. I am an anti-Zionist. I always have been. Anyone who visits the occupied West Bank, anyone who sees the genocide happening in Gaza, anyone who learns about the Nakba, anyone who understands what settler colonialism is, will find themselves also identifying as an anti-Zionist. And the political...
Thanks. When the corporate media and the pro-Israel lobby then proceeded to smear her, instead of backing down or apologising, she actually doubled down and she posted this on Twitter X. "The smears won't work this time. I say it loudly and proudly. I'm an anti-Zionist. Print that." That tweet was addressed to Dominic Pena. Don't know how you pronounce his name. Dominic Pena. He was he's a Telegraph journalist. He wrote a story about her. And she posted this to X, Twitter, only a few hours after coming out as an anti-Zionist in her discussion with Kennard. Now, if only Corbyn had had such an uncompromising attitude, he may even have become Prime Minister in 2017. And yet, unfortunately, it seems that Corbyn and his team have still not learned anything from their mistakes. In an interview with Middle East Eye soon after Sultana's comments, he said this. Got a couple of clips for you.
Is your approach going to be different this time? And the reason I ask this is that Zarah Sultana did a recent interview where she said that the Labour Party leadership was wrong to have adopted the controversial IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. And she said the smears won't work anymore and that she's proudly an anti-Zionist. What do you think about all that?
Well, I think it wasn't really necessary for her to bring all that up in the interview, but that's what she decided to do. I was under a great deal of pressure to adopt the IHRA. That happened. The majority of the National Executive, a huge majority, including people who are very close to me, wanted it adopted, and that was duly done. And then later, the examples were also adopted, which I personally had the greatest concerns about.
Now, we've cut that interview down there, it's quite long, but if you watch the whole answer, he doesn't answer the point about anti-Zionism, what his view on Zionism is. He just sort of skips over that part. And because of that, Corbyn came under quite a lot of criticism online from left-wingers and anti-Zionists. And one notable Palestine solidarity activist even asked Corbyn about it in person. We've got that clip as well.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one question, please? Will you be coming out like Zarah Sultana and declaring yourself as an anti-Zionist?
Are you from a particular outlet?
No, I'm
we're
just
not doing any.
I'm here to speak about Gaza. I'm here to speak for the Palestinian people.
I just want to know as a member
I'm sorry.
of the party.
I'm here to speak for the Palestinian people and speak in solidarity
Okay,
with them. That's
so
the point
no-
of being here today. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you.
Yemi has two. She was just asking one question. It's not a big deal. Did he give you an
Yeah,
answer?
no, and I just want to know, as a
Could you turn your camera
lifelong,
off,
We
please?
can have a conversation.
Now, asking Corbyn that question was an activist called 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐄𝐿, or she's known as Annie Says on TikTok and Instagram. She's a regular at Palestine solidarity demonstrations all across the country. I've met her a couple of times, and she posts really useful grassroots updates from on the ground. And that interaction sparked a lot of controversy on X online. Some Corbyn supporters said it was unfair given his years of Palestine solidarity work, while critics said he should have been able to answer a simple question. So I'm not going to get into all the weeds now, but there's actually a lot more detail in my article about a potential split in the new party, the new left-wing party, which actually doesn't technically exist yet. And Corbyn himself is reported to be furious that Sultana took the initiative to launch the move for a new party last month. After she did do so with that tweet, as we showed earlier, it took Corbyn 3 weeks to agree to a joint statement with her announcing the so-called Your Party initiative, which is set to found the new party at a conference later this year. There's a lot more details in the piece, so you can read that there.
Thanks so much for that, Asa. Ali, what's your take on Corbyn's I don't know, wishy-washiness in
Yeah,
this
well,
moment?
first, it was a great article, Asa, and I highly recommend people reading it. And it's really not about revisiting everything that happened in the past 10 years with the Zionist campaign against Corbyn, the successful Zionist campaign against Corbyn and the Labour Party.
Yeah.
But it's about learning the lessons. And to me, it's just astonishing to see Corbyn. I think some of us have said, oh, Corbyn doesn't know how to be tough. But that video clip you showed us demonstrated he can be tough against his friends and supporters,
That's
not
the thing.
against his enemies.
Yeah.
And the message, what I got from your article, Asa, is that, well, to the extent that there's any route to changing things through electoral politics or British electoral politics, that's a separate debate. But to the extent that people want to be able to vote for a party that stands for the things that they want, it's striking to me that Zarah Sultana is standing up and saying, I'm willing to carry the banner and say the things that people are saying in the grassroots, that people have been saying for years, and that Corbyn is still not willing to say. And so the question to me is, that's fine. If Corbyn doesn't want to do that, he doesn't want to take those positions, obviously that's his choice. But then let someone who is willing to stand for the things that people want to see, let her take the lead and see where it goes. Because the process of constant appeasement and constant accommodation of unappeasable, fanatical, literally genocidal Zionists clearly didn't work for Jeremy Corbyn. It didn't. He wasn't able to keep his grip on the Labour Party, and it didn't win electorally. It lost. So what's the point of repeating it? And I think it's worth simply putting that all out there now before people waste a lot of time and energy. That's
Yeah.
my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's not about just rehashing the past for the sake of it. It's, it's about what's going to happen in the new party. Are they going to expel or suspend or investigate members for saying Israel's carrying out a Holocaust in Gaza? Because that would be a comparison to the Nazis. Are they going to investigate people for saying similar things to what Ken Livingstone said? is there certain parts of history that we're not allowed to talk about because it might hurt Zionist feelings, you know? So I think people want answers to that.
Yeah, and I'll just say we'd love to have Jeremy Corbyn on the live stream or on the Electronic Intifada podcast to discuss all these questions openly. I think that will be really an opportunity to clear all these things up.
Yeah.
And also, I am seeing, and I want to mention this just in the comment that, you know, people shouldn't take this as sort of dismissing Jeremy Corbyn. People have a lot of affection for him. I do. He's continuing to speak out for Palestinians. He's continuing to speak out for Gaza. He chaired the Gaza Tribunal. Our friend Abu Bakr Abed, when we spoke to him last week on the live stream, he was in London and he spoke next to Jeremy Corbyn on that tribunal. I personally appreciate all of that. But if you're going to get into an electoral fight to stand for these things, these other issues cannot be sidelined. They have to be addressed head on. And the failure to learn the lessons is what, you know, people need to know. And if you're wrong about that, Asa, they can prove you wrong by simply answering those questions we saw people asking and being clear about positions on these fundamental issues.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, thanks. We'll be waiting for that invitation to be accepted, of course.